All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Forget the usual modern hustle culture or Wall Street advice for a second. Today, we are unpacking the Quran's unique and highly structured blueprint for achieving true prosperity. We're looking directly at a source document that breaks down the whole concept of success, not as some random stroke of luck, but as a very deliberate, step-by-step formula. If you've ever wondered how this foundational text outlines the actual path to achieving and maintaining a truly prosperous life, well, you are going to find this incredibly fascinating. So, to really grasp this, we are going to follow the text's own inside-out logic through 5 main sections. 1. Redefining true success. 2. The inner foundation. 3. Action and perseverance. 4. Community and responsibility. And finally, 5. Preserving true prosperity. Let's get right to it. Starting with Section 1, Redefining True Success, a Paradigm Shift. To begin this journey, we actually have to fundamentally rethink what it means to prosper according to the source material. Usually we equate worldly success with, say, a lucky roll of the dice, overflowing bank accounts, or golden trophies, right? But the Quranic definition completely flips that script. It requires a total paradigm shift. Here, prosperity is the deliberate outcome of personal transformation, profound gratitude, and an absolute unwavering trust in God. Basically, it's an inside job. So, where exactly do we start? Well, that brings us to Section 2, the inner foundation, where change begins. Because before we can even look outward at our physical actions, the text explicitly states that all success must be born from within our own minds and hearts. Let's look at the exact wording here. This foundational verse from chapter 13 highlights that you simply cannot expect improved circumstances without an internal willingness to evolve. It says, God does not change the condition of a people until they change what is within themselves. That is a seriously powerful statement of personal agency and, honestly, absolute accountability. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that self-reform is the prerequisite, period. As the source explains, people can't just expect God to magically improve their situation while they sit back and remain totally unwilling to improve themselves. You've got to take that first internal step. It's a fascinating dynamic when you think about it. Divine help is absolutely available, but it's entirely contingent on human initiative. And this concept isn't just about making it to the top either. It's about staying there. Look at this second verse, chapter 8, verse 53. It makes internal self-awareness a non-negotiable requirement to actually retain any divine favor that's been bestowed upon us. The logic is clear. If the internal state degrades, well, the external favors are going to follow suit. It demands an active, continuous state of self-awareness. All right, let's move on to Section 3, Action and Perseverance, Building the Habits. So just thinking about success isn't enough, right? You have to actually do the work. Let's see how that inner mindset translates into daily endurance. This verse from chapter 3 shows us that the path requires some incredible stamina. It specifically calls out patience, perseverance, and remaining steadfast. The text doesn't sugarcoat it. It acknowledges right up front that this journey is going to be tough. True success demands immense discipline and resilience in the face of life's inevitable roadblocks. But, it's not just about the positive things you do. It's equally about the negative stuff you actively avoid. The Qur'an explicitly warns against specific destructive behaviors, things like intoxicants, gambling, idols, and divining arrows. You can kind of think of these as the ancient equivalents of toxic, self-sabotaging habits. The text literally labels these as Satan's handiwork, which makes it crystal clear. You have to completely clear out the toxic habits to make any room for the successful ones. Now, what I find really interesting is how incredibly realistic the text is. We're human. We are definitely not perfect, and we all make mistakes. Because of this, sincere repentance is presented directly in the text as a vital, absolutely necessary mechanism for achieving success. Making a mistake isn't a failure. The real failure is just not turning back. As chapter 24, verse 31 says, turning to God in repentance is actually a core part of how you succeed. And the text treats this repentance as a highly structured path, not just some quick throwaway apology. It maps out a clear 3-step process. First up, absolute humility to actually acknowledge the mistake. Second, a genuine, real willingness to change. And third, actively returning to God's guidance. It is a proactive course correction. It puts you right back on track. Expanding outward now, we hit Section 4, Community and Responsibility, the Outer Circle. So the formula expands from the individual to the group. In this text, success is absolutely not a solitary pursuit. There's a much broader societal responsibility that we all have to shoulder. A truly healthy society depends on its people actively looking out for one another. This verse directly ties communal success to a specific action. Let there arise from among you a community inviting to goodness, enjoining what is right, and forbidding what is wrong. They are the successful. So, communal morality and active civic duty are literally core metrics of collective success. And check this out. This next verse brilliantly illustrates the ultimate defense mechanism for a community. On top of promoting good, collective unity is absolutely paramount. It says, hold firmly to the rope of God altogether, and do not be divided. Division is highlighted as this fatal flaw that weakens communities, while a shared, unified commitment fortifies them against failure. Basically, you rise together or you fall apart, no in between. Okay, so you've reformed yourself, you've persevered, you've united your community. But how do you avoid losing it all? That brings us to Section 5, Preserving True Prosperity, the maintenance phase. To explain this maintenance phase, the Qur'an uses a really stark, memorable, cautionary tale. It talks about a town that had everything. It was secure, it was content, provisions were pouring in abundantly, but they became ungrateful. And because of that ungratefulness, they were made to taste hunger and fear. This is a huge warning sign, highlighting the extreme danger of taking divine favors for granted. Prosperity is incredibly fragile if the very mindset that built it is abandoned. When we look at the entirety of the source text we've covered today, we can clearly map out these logical cause and effect relationships. Honestly, it's almost mathematical. Unity strengthens communities. Division weakens them. Gratitude preserves prosperity. Arrogance leads to its loss. It is a highly predictable system of inputs and outputs based entirely on human character and the choices we make. So, to summarize our deep dive into this explainer today, this framework reveals something truly profound. True prosperity isn't just some finish line you cross or a bank account you eventually fill up. According to this text, success is an active, continuous way of living. It literally requires transforming yourself, working productively, exercising patience, repenting when you inevitably mess up, maintaining unity, and remaining relentlessly grateful for what you have. As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to reflect on your own personal metrics for a second. Ask yourself a serious question. Is your definition of success merely an end goal that you hope to one day reach, or is it a continuous daily way of life? Think about that for a bit. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.